Today we have picked one of your favorite Volvo models in the recent iteration, the Volvo V60 Cross Country. Some updates, new mild hybrid engine, at least for Europe, but in general we give you a good overview on exterior, interior and the driving experience of this V60 Cross Country. Actually quite good conditions exactly for this crossover vehicle. In Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! In the front, the V60 Cross Country gets this front grille with the vertical fins, some dots inside, a likable design, strong, and also with the crossover contrast here in the lower part in black. Thor's Hammer LED lights are standard, also with this signature right there, and maple brown is the color here for today. The length is at 4.76 m, 15'6" or 187 inches, whereas the cross-country model is 6.5 cm or 2.5 inches higher as for the suspension. And that then means ground clearance from 21 centimeters or 8 inches, so a little bit more ground clearance. And you see here the typical estate style. There's also the S60 available, the sedan version. And then the crossover cladding right here, really big and stylish. I think it fits the vehicle. Wheels here for the CC model come from 18 to 20 inch. These here are in between 19-inch wheels, but already look pretty massive. I think in a brighter color, this vehicle, of course, looks even more impressive because then there's a higher contrast between the brighter color and also then these crossover claddings. Overall, I think a very simplistic design here, round shape, also then here at the height of the door handles, and then again a contrasting roof rail as for that. What do you think? Do you like this CC styling? In the rear, the typical Volvo vertical tail lamp style they use for the estates and the SUVs. Again, a likable styling, and here also with the LED signature. In the lower part, the cross-country model gets this cross-country stamping that looks quite fancy, and then massive Autogefühl fake exhaust alert. However, in this case, fake exhaust tips only, not completely fake. The exhaust goes through there at least. From the wider distance, of course, this then looks more massive. And B4 AWD, what does that mean? Of course, all-wheel drive. But then in Europe, where we get now the mild hybrid engines, both the petrol and the diesel mild hybrid engines are called B. That, of course, doesn't make any sense. You cannot differentiate, and I wonder why they did that. The same what they did now with the electric vehicles, both, and also the plug-in hybrids, where the plug-ins and the electric both are called recharge, and you cannot differentiate at all. Yeah, strange naming policy, definitely at Volvo. But visually, again, I think nicely done. As we know from the Volvo combustion engines, 2-liter 4-cylinders, and in the US you get the T5, 250 horsepower, turbo petrol engine, all-wheel drive, and here it's called now B5 in Europe. That means with mild hybrid technology, and the one we have today is the B4, but that's then the mild hybrid diesel with around 200 horsepower and also all-wheel drive. First of all, door closing sound. Oh, it's very solid. Inside of the doors, nice soft touch material, also with an interesting structure, grey fabric on the inside. And in general, there are in Europe fabric seats available. And in the US, and both in Europe, you can get the so-called city weave seats. This is then an interesting structure and beige leatherette and fabric on the inside. And here, these are the new tailored wool seats, 30% wool, 70% recycled PET. And the wool share is not really necessary. It's a good step away from the animal skin, not entirely animal free, but already a good step. And, you know, main fabric feeling and also more breathable in summer and also not that cold in winter times. And here the standard Volvo steering wheel. And getting inside, easy entry and a nice seating position here, mid-size segment. And the seats in general for the V60 and the S60 are quite comfortable. These are so-called already sport seats. The base seats would deliver even more comfort, but really ergonomic. As for the form, you can also put this lower area, shorter or longer, for example, and adjust the steering wheel and so on. And when you put it all the way down with one with a 6 or 6 with 1, still leaves some headroom, although this one is the one with the panoramic roof, leaves a lot of light inside. Interior overview, 9-inch screen on the right, vertical style, 12.3-inch digital instruments on the left, meanwhile standard. Steering wheel here with a nice and smooth control in and out. Look at how far this goes. You can really find a good position as for that. And when you turn on the engine, then also the instruments come more to life. They're sometimes not that fast as for the speed it shows and so on. So some delay as for that. The nice central setup. I have the feeling here these elements and also the steering wheel that has been reworked to my feeling. So this makes a better quality impression right now. Overall, the build quality is indeed quite high. Here this wooden atmosphere is also quite nice. You can select different styles for it. There's also a bright wood available, for example. The digital instruments are clear to read and also quite, let's say, easy. Overall satisfied, and in the middle part either stuff is empty or here when you have a route set, then you have a GPS map also in the middle of it, straightforward. Head-up display is surely a nice option. You can see the speed, current speed there, and also the allowed speed. Very helpful to have it in the line of sight. Left side of the steering wheel, you set the cruise control and also activate the pilot assist. And on the right side, you can increase or decrease the volume. Here, hop to the music titles. And then here you can also control something in the digital instruments. And as for the sound experience, the optional Bose & Wilkins sound system has a very nice crystal clear sound, and you can also pick from studio to individual stage. That's more from the front end. And also here the Gothenburg Concert Hall, and this is more a surround sound, I would say, also for electronic music. Why not? But the studio setup is also pretty cool. There's now also the jazz club, but I'm not sure if that's really useful for electronic music. I really like the concert hall atmosphere because that gives you this surround experience. Very nice, but not suitable for listening to radio and speech. About the infotainment system in general, like this. Here you can select the temperature like this, or also with voice control. Set temperature to 22 degrees.
Temperature set to 22 degrees.
So that works. Home button right here. You can, by the way, when you press and hold it, then you go to the cleaning mode and you can use a towel or like a microfiber. And then nothing happens while you do that. Then here, for example, you can have this so-called app view. Here, for example, is a GPS map, and it does the job. It's also responsive enough. Apple CarPlay can also be directly, you can click this one here, but then you don't get directly to it. Easier than here, swipe on this side and then select the CarPlay here. And again, the music is really cool as for that. It's the integration here like this. And on the other side, we have some options here concerning the vehicle. And the rear view camera, when you put in reverse gear like this with a nice resolution, so still happy with that. In general, good interior quality here with also some soft touch at the dashboard. Once again, very beautiful here, this wooden insert. And yeah, just a nice emotional feature. One of the few real physical buttons is here, the volume knob, and it has a very unique, rolling through experience, but overall with the crystal line design, I think it's pretty cool. Lower middle console, again, nice wooden atmosphere. Slide it back, slide it in front like this. New inductive charging pad we have right here. And this is then here also again this crystalline design for start and stop, and the drive mode selector. However, here the automatic shifting lever, to me with this sequential shift, it's always annoying. Like reverse to, put in reverse, but then from reverse to D, it's like N, D, and then you have to go back again, N, R. So always 2 steps to switch back and forth, and that's really annoying when selecting that. Here, cup holders, also adaptive, still reasonable space. And this armrest here is very well attached, and then you have some space underneath with 2 USB chargers, USB-A. This is, by the way, the car key, controls at the side, and the rear seating area, also soft edge at the inside of the doors here, that's cool. As for the knee room, that's okay, you can also sit here with tall adults, no problem. So it's also nice and cozy at the rear. Headroom also closely fits. Again, nice view through the panoramic roof, especially from the rear area. So overall good, not too spacious, but overall for the segment also comparable. Isofix at the outsides each. You could also fold the seats from here already. Then the head restraints also go down. That's for better overview when you sit in the front, for example. In the middle part, you also have a climate unit and then also 2 USB-C chargers now. And the middle seat here, there is a substantial middle tunnel, but you could also sit in the middle part here. Actually also quite cozy, just, the angle from knee is a little bit different, but overall quite okay. The trunk area, 530 up to 1,360 liters. Here, this top cover, it does not raise automatically with the hatch, so you have to control it manual. That's something of a flaw, I think. Then the normal length here is just about 1 meter. You see here a cabin trolley also fits in a vertical way. A clever split is actually this one here. So when you have some backpacks you want to put upright, or splitting it with the cabin trolley that doesn't fly all over the place, I think this is a very clever solution. And the width here, this is more than 1 meter here, and also a little bit more than 1 meter in the back area. So overall very well usable, and you cannot fold the seats from here. You really have to do it then from the rear area. Have to go around, and then it looks actually like this here, 1/3, 2/3 split, but with a quite good transition. And with that transition to the front seats, this is 1,90 meters, so that's actually quite cool. And the overall height here, the total height is about 70 centimeters, and the cover is reducing it right here. It's about 45 centimeters. So overall, again, quite happy. Not as, that spacious as these former Volvo estates, but still very well usable. What about the child safety test right here? Yeah, some substantial torque, but at least it held still at some point. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the Volvo V60 Cross Country, and it is clearly cross-country weather. Yeah, it's typical Germany, or also for our friends from the UK. Typical for, certain months to have this kind of weather. Yeah, not too bad as for the temperatures, but definitely a lot of rain. And we have the all-wheel drive version here. So cross-country, of course, combined with the all-wheel drive. Oh, there's a lot of water. And yeah, maybe the additional ground clearance helps us here a little bit today. And indeed, in this vehicle you do not get an SUV feeling. However, you do feel a little bit higher position of the vehicle, and that gives you a little bit more, like a relaxed feeling. So I really appreciate this cross-country put-up suspension, because it just gives you something in between the normal mid-size estate and the SUV. So it could be actually a good compromise, I would say. Steering wheel is really light and easy to use. Doesn't convey the most sporty feeling, but it's actually, it's okay. Again, not the best feeling, but easy to use and easy to handle in the city and so on. And the size is actually also quite decent. Suspension is, I would say, not too bad, but also not too good. So also something average alike, I'd say. Wheels come from 18 to 20 inch. These here are the 19-inch wheels. If you want a little bit more comfort, then stick with the 18-inch wheels. If you want it sporty and stiffer in the ride, then pick the bigger wheels. 19 is somewhat okay. Still, I would stick with the 18-inch just to give you a little bit more comfort. This is no racing car here at all anyway. Here now the update, at least for the European models, is the mild hybrid technology. We have it here today in the diesel. It's also available for the petrol engine. And you know that our friends in the US only get the T5 petrol engine, whereas we here in Europe would get the B engines. That means it's the mild hybrid technology inside then here. And what happens, for example, when I go downhill now and I'm on the brakes, and I see it also in the digital instruments, small symbol with the battery, then we can regenerate some energy while just running downhill here. So that's definitely helping a little bit with the fuel consumption. And so far, now test, my result was it doesn't change, you know, it doesn't have like a major effect on this 2-liter 4-cylinder diesel here, for example. It won't be like an absolute game changer, but we could score some equal fuel economy figures for the front-wheel drive diesel without mild hybrid. And then, you know, with the, you know, the all-wheel drive diesel with the mild hybrid, around 7 liters and 1 kilometers, 34 mpg US, 41 mpg UK, which is not a very good result for a diesel in this segment here. In general, the Volvo combustion engines are not that fuel saving. The mild hybrid technology improves it maybe a little bit, but again, it's not a game changer. Can't expect too much from it. That's why I rather recommend going for the Polestar models, or when you stick with the Volvo models, orient towards maybe the plug-in hybrid models if you can recharge frequently. So combustion engines, you know, Volvo will not develop any further, there won't be like a major change in combustion engines at Volvo anymore. They will focus on electric motors, started with Polestar, and they will also focus on it with Volvo. So again, can't expect too much technology and too much progression as for that. The diesel, you do hear it's a diesel, but whoa. I hate these traffic announcements. Always like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So getting on the motorway now, and it's normal D driving mode. You can have driving mode selection here. You can also go to the dynamic mode, then the gears are turned up higher. Now you all also felt maybe or heard that car was shifting down a gear. And here now all-wheel drive acceleration from 45 kilometers an hour. Let's go. Plop, that's 75, so that went quite quick. And due to the all-wheel drive, I also have, you know, good acceleration, good grip on the road, even though there's like these, you know, rainy conditions. Of course, all-wheel drive won't help you with physics. That means when you're steering and when you're driving too fast in the corners, this is often a misconception that it would be much safer to drive with all-wheel drive, but that only accounts for acceleration, of course, not for just the driving dynamics and so on. But overall, I feel feeling quite safe, and I also appreciate the seating comfort here. In general, the seat form here in the Volvos, in the mid-size models, is really excellent, no matter which surface you have. But of course, if you have one of these fabric surfaces, whoa, that's interesting today, with a lot of rain. So if you have one of the fabric surfaces, they adapt better to the body, whereas the slick animal skin surfaces, they are stiffer and therefore also reduce the seating comfort. And here, good long-term seating comfort definitely. Here on the motorway, I can set the normal cruise control, that's possible, but also can activate the pilot assist. That is then the semi-autonomous driving function, or you say, to be precise, semi-automated, because autonomous is either 0 or 1. So there is actually, like, by definition, nothing like semi-autonomous, but we always use it because it's like common speech, I would, depict it that way. And maybe we don't have to be too critical about this definition, but maybe you get what I mean. Well, it's a lot of rain here today, so bang, bang, bang. Interesting. So here the pilot assist is not very reliable inside the construction site here. We did have vehicles which mastered also the construction site here. We'll see how it looks like when I get out of this one. And behind me there's a bully driver, as it wasn't like accelerating instantaneously when getting on the motorway. It's already using the horn. Probably stressed here at the moment and try to relieve it on the motorway. So that gives us a chance to give you an overview of the blind spot monitor, which will appear in the left mirror. because this very angry Audi driver will definitely overtake us as soon as I go to the right now at the exit of this construction site. And you'll see that the blind spot monitor has a very, very nice and subtle integration which really adds to safety. So let's get on the right lane. And here we go. And there's the blind spot monitor. So really nice integration. One more time. So when I use the turning indicator, it also flashes, for example, and that's again a very helpful feature. A lot of these, safety systems are usually standard with the Volvos, and the ones that are maybe missing are included in some packages. But most of the safety equipment that's really good with Volvo is always included in the standard equipment. And if you pick a high trim model like this one here, you basically get almost everything in it. That's really cool. Digital instruments are clear to read also while driving. And here now at 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, I'm still good as for the noise insulation, so can't complain about that at all. It's a nice and comfortable, calm ride, although it is so rainy outside here today. And let me also show you another acceleration. We get off the motorway here and we'll get on it again. Because in these conditions it doesn't make sense to have like a high-speed test. It's just too dangerous. Safety first here, always at Autogefühl. But talking about the high-speed maximum speed, Volvo has limited it now to 180 kilometers an hour. It's about 112 miles per hour. And there has been a massive discussion, brackets, in Germany, brackets, because obviously there's no other country in the world where that possibly might play a role. And there has been this typical discussion of, Volvo is limiting my freedom because I can't drive faster than 180 kilometers an hour. Yes, if you've seen my videos, I also, rather for testing purposes, drive faster than that from time to time. Usually I limit it at 200 kilometers an hour, which is already actually too fast for the human body to cope, actually, which is not like really reasonable to do that, definitely. So I think the decision is totally fine. I don't have a problem with it. You do not buy a Volvo to do racing. You would rather, buy a BMW M model for that or something, but not a Volvo V60 Cross Country, for example. And the situations where you can drive faster than 180 kilometers an hour are quite limited. So, again, onto the motorway, I want to say actually nice acceleration, especially when I don't hammer it all the way through, good and smooth and so on. It's absolutely fine. So, again, I would like to hear your comments about the max speed thing by Volvo. They did not do that for Polestar, which I think doesn't make so much sense because they also argue with environmental reasons and so on for that and safety reasons. So why not doing that for Polestar? I think that's actually bollocks with this decision. If you do that, of course you should do that for all of your brands. So now back to our driving test here. Good feeling in the brakes as well. So overall, still I think the V60 is one of my favorite mid-size estates. Looks good, and on the nice Scandinavian interior design. Again, it does not give you a sporty driving feeling. That's not what it's aiming for, but a very comfortable driving experience. And if you go, for the US spec model, then pick the City Weave seats. They are really unique. You have a very unique seat setup with fabric and leatherette mix. And it's super comfortable. And if you're in Germany, I would, or that like the rest of Europe, probably just stick with the base fabric seats, for example. They are also just fine. Also less expensive than these seats here with the wool share, and they don't give you more comfort or so, but they're all quite good. So again, a relaxed and comfortable experience here in the V60. Mild hybrid system. Here with some acceleration share, you see that the average fuel consumption is a little bit higher than the minimum figure I mentioned initially. Yes. Now here rather towards 8 liters, 1 kilometers. That's then more than 30 mpg, a little bit less than 30 mpg, and US, and less than 40 mpg UK. So that's also possible, but again, I'm always not really satisfied with the fuel economy in the Volvo combustion engines. That has been a theme for years and years. The pilot assist is actually quite helpful, not in the construction side, but on the motorway and keeping you in the lane. Steering acts then somewhat artificial from time to time, but overall still a good thing to have. Yeah, and of course, listen to this Bowers & Wilkins sound system while driving is also always a pleasure. Nice also with panoramic roof, leaving a lot of light. You see it's very bright inside here, although it is such a dark and rather depressing day. But of course, I also hope that with our reviews, we can always make your day always a little bit less depressing, even if you feel bad from time to time. So once again, by the way, here, actually good and precise steering. I feel they've upgraded it a little bit, so I have to, maybe it's just a subjective thing, but I think it's a little bit more feeling in that bit than before. In the dynamic mode, by the way, you have a little bit more feedback, but the main change is definitely that the throttle input is changed and the gears are turned up higher and you shift down again earlier. There's also eco mode, driving mode available. So for throttle input reducing, and off-road mode can be selected when you drive rather slowly. This being a front-wheel driven platform, basically, and there are also front-wheel drive models only of the V60. This all-wheel drive system, of course, rather acts with front plus rear, but definitely helps you when you have like a snowy condition, for example, or some soft off-road situations and so on. Overview is also good, especially here this is an advantage to the S60 model. Overview to the rear is definitely better. But if in general you ask about difference S60 and V60, hardly any driving difference you would feel there. Last but not least, let's compare it to the premium competitors, which are predominantly, of course, the German ones. Audi A4, BMW 3 Series, and the Mercedes C-Class, yes, of course. And they're also all available as the estate models, Avant, Touring, T model. So this again more with the relaxed approach. The Germans are more than with the sporty approach. C-Class comes closest to it from a driving experience. The Audi and the BMW has a sportier touch. The BMW is the sportiest touch from these, definitely. So then depends on if you appreciate more driving fun or if you rather want a relaxed feeling. This, of course, also somewhat most unique as for the design, exterior and interior. That could speak for the Volvo. At the end of the day, you also have to compare concise dealer prices to really know, what difference that makes. And then you can, for example, also still decide between one of these models. In some ways, they all always come close in a way. Infotainment system is, of course, a difference. That's also to like here more with the orientation with the vertical screen a lot on, and so on via touch. But overall, it's quite easy and straightforward to use. But definitely not the newest system. But the seating comfort always is really good with the Volvos. These here are a little bit sportier. As for for the seats, they also called like these tailored wool sport seats. I would rather stick with the base seat form, also like the non-sport seat, because the longer I drive now, the more I feel that the base seat form is more comfortable, especially for longer journeys. And that's always what we find out. So safety system wise, I would pick everything I have, I can get actually. But in a lot of features of the vehicle, especially like seating setup, wheels and so on, sometimes you can go for a cheaper option to get the overall then better or more comfortable vehicle. It's of course a good thing for you that you can save some money while making the car actually better. Some features are only sold to be really fancier visually and so on, and just because people say like, yeah, that's an expensive option, you should go for that because that's cool. But it's not always the case, and that's why we are here also for a good consultation. Once again, very likable driving experience with our V60 Cross Country here for the day, and I hope you also enjoyed our rain ride this time. And now to our conclusion for today with the Volvo V60 Cross Country. A nice crossover look, really unique. It fits the vehicle very well. Likeable exterior, the Scandinavian design on the interior. You also have enough fabric choices for the seats available. So you have a very good seating comfort, well usable interior space, so nothing to complain there. Driving experience more a relaxed one, especially with this put-up suspension. Not sporty at all, not steering nor suspension wise. Wheel choices should be rather smaller to keep up the comfort, and overall a likable, comfortable driving experience, and it fits very well, not only visually but also driving wise, that the car is a little bit higher than there from the suspension. Still a very good pick then here in the mid-size segment for the mid-size estates, but the price of course goes really high. The mild hybrid technologies for the European models, it's actually quite nice. It doesn't bring a major game changer for the fuel economy, but is already a little bit better than before. What do you think? Is this one of your favorite Volvo models? Tune in to our comment sections. See you there.